Hi, my name is Scott the Miniature Maniac, and today, in celebration of streaming for over 1 year, we're going to talk about my streaming setup. We're going to look at some funny clips from that 1 year of streaming, and we're going to announce something a little bit sad. What up, mini family? Let's get a few questions out of the way. 1, do I need to spend as much money to stream miniature painting? No. 2, as I spend more money, are there diminishing returns in terms of the quality of my stream? Yes. 3, can I spend 10% of what you spend and get 80% of your quality? Yes. The reason why my setup costs so much money is because I've been collecting the gear over an extended period of time. A lot of this gear is used also for recording videos as well as streaming, and I'm a big fan of combining functionality when I can to save money and also to get a higher quality product. All the hardware I talk about in this video will be linked in the description below, and a quick ethics statement: they are all Amazon affiliate links, so I'll make a commission when you buy it and no extra cost to you. If you're looking to start streaming, the gear in this video is not for you, but the reason why I selected some of this gear can be helpful when you come to the time when you want to spend a little bit more money on some equipment for your stream. So let's start with the most important thing in the setup, the camera. I'm currently rocking a Panasonic Lumix GX85, and I used to use a GH4 and I switched over to the GX85 because the GX85 does everything that the Panasonic does that I want it to do, and is also way lighter. So what does the Panasonic GX85 do that's so great? Well, the most important thing that I think the GX85 does is it outputs 4K resolution on a clean HDMI. Now, what does that mean, and why is 4K helpful and not just a buzzword in this instance? Well, first of all, if I want to do live capture with any camera, it needs to output its image over an HDMI cable so I can send it to my computer. I can't have a bunch of weird settings and things over my output. It needs to be clean and pristine. And why does 4K help in this situation where I'm only streaming 1080p? Well, let me explain a little thing called the magnification effect. When you get closer to something physically or optically with a camera, your depth of field gets more shallow. And what that means is while I'm painting tiny little things, it's harder to keep it in focus. Because if I move 1 centimeter back or 1 centimeter forward, it goes in and out of focus. So what's one way to solve this? Well, one way to solve this is to back the camera up farther away or zoom the lens out a little bit more and your depth of field gets a little bit wider. But then your shot is super wide and you can't see what's going on with the miniature. Enter 4K resolution. With 4K resolution, I can zoom in digitally 2 times, and when I am exporting a 1080p stream, I will have 0 quality loss. And with digital zooming, I get none of that magnification effect at all. So having a 4K output and streaming in a 1080p window of that 4K output allows me to get a nice close picture of the miniature without having to deal with the super shallow depth of field. So we got a nice 4K output, it's nice and clean, there isn't a bunch of overlay garbage on top of it. What else is nice about this camera? Well, the image quality is significantly better than a webcam. In fact, let's put my money where my mouth is. Let's do a blind test right now to see which image you think is the better one. .4K output, high quality image, clean HDMI out, and this camera does a whole host of other things that I'm not going over because they're more video related. Things like in-body image stabilization, things like zebra stripes, things like focus peaking. All of these things are helpful for videography and not necessarily streaming, but since I am also a producer of YouTube content, those features matter to me. But if you're only in it for the streaming, those features might not matter to you. But if you can find a camera that does those 3 things that I just mentioned, those are the biggest things that you want. Now, a camera body is nothing without the lens on it. I am using a 12 to 35 millimeter f2.8 lens. And the nicest thing about this lens is it's a constant aperture. So what that means is when I do want to twist the barrel of the lens and get an optical zoom, the image doesn't adjust in aperture. And what would happen if I did that is the image would get darker and brighter as I zoomed it in and out. Unfortunately, this feature, a constant aperture, makes this lens quite expensive. So if you know that you just want to stay at one focal length the entire time and set your exposure at that focal length, then you can use a very, very cheap lens that comes with the GX85 when you purchase it most often. Now, a camera like this doesn't just interface with your computer with a nice USB and operate like a webcam might. You need some image processing installed in your computer to assist with that via a capture card. And in my case, I use a Blackmagic Intensity Pro 4K internal card that's doing that image processing and allowing me to use it as an image source in my software, OBS or Open Broadcaster software. Now, if you're not a fan of digging around the internals of your computer to install some PCI card, there are external capture cards that you can use. What I've found about the external options, though, is that they are often more expensive than the internal ones when offering the same feature set. It's important to mention also that this capture card that I'm using is a 4K capture card. And what that means we can do is do that digital zooming in and zooming out effect that I talked about earlier to minimize the magnification effect. If we had a 1080p capture card, that trick wouldn't be possible. Now, another thing typical with these DSLR cameras and these micro four thirds cameras is they are often powered off of a battery, and that can be quite an inconvenience no matter how legendary the batteries are, like Panasonic cameras are. So you want to find an AC/DC adapter for your camera so you can plug it in any mains and not have to ever worry about having a battery charged for your stream. Now, another important thing is to have some way to have your camera held up in a position where you can paint comfortably. There's nothing worse than having the camera in an uncomfortable place so that you paint worse when you're streaming. I can't stress this enough. If the setup makes you have to contort in a weird way to paint, you are less likely to turn on the stream at any given time. No, you want this thing to be as inintrusive, is that a word? Intrusive-less? As non-intrusive as it can possibly be so that you have no issue flicking that thing on and getting to painting whenever you want. So it's important to find the right armature that's going to assist you in doing that. And for me, it's number one, a Vanguard SBH 100 ball head. This ball head allows me to rotate the camera around as much as I want in any orientation as I want. And then that ball head is attached to a 3-section impact stand that I can rotate and articulate as much as I want. This 3-section articulated arm is attached to my desk with a big old impact clamp, and then that is the entire armature summarized. Now, there are a million ways that you could attach this camera to your desk. It all depends on, one, how you paint. Do you put the model on the desk, or do you put your elbows on the desk, lift it up to your face? It all depends on your posture and also the weight of your camera and a whole host of other things. So I really implore you to look into all the different camera support options that you can use as opposed to just defaulting to this. I mean, a tripod could work for you, and those are wildly cheaper, and also they're kind of a one-stop shop. You don't need anything beyond a tripod. So please look into the options that you have for you. There are many. Now, the mic that I use is an Audio-Technica AT2020 USB microphone, so it can plug right into my computer and be used as that. If any part of my stream is lacking, it's definitely the audio part. And what you'd want to do to have a nicer setup is maybe to have a nicer microphone, like a Harper Cardioid mic that's out of the frame, maybe plugged into a USB audio interface that has actual physical limiters on it. And I actually have a audio interface that I could use that also doubles as my recorder for videos, but I can't figure out how to get my computer to recognize it despite installing ASIO drivers and that stuff. But if you wanted to improve the quality of this setup, audio would be the next place that you would go. That AT2020 is attached to a super cheap boom arm, and it has a pop shield on it as well. Now, another fun little thing that I added to my setup was an HDMI switcher. So the Intensity Pro 4K, my capture card, only has one HDMI in. So if I wanted to use an additional camera, say like my GH4 that I use for recording YouTube videos, I couldn't use it. I would need something to take the two signals and make one. And that's where an HDMI switcher comes in. Now again, everything in the signal chain needs to be 4K if you want to do that 4K trick. So you want to find a 4K HDMI switcher. Luckily, they aren't that expensive. And so what I can do, if I want to, is have both my cameras plugged into the HDMI switcher, have the output running to my Intensity Pro 4K, and then with my remote, I can change the inputs and the outputs to do two different angles whenever I want. And that's kind of a cool thing that I haven't really done a whole lot of in my actual stream, but is a possibility for the future. And then finally, the elephant in the room, the light. The LC160 from Intelitech. This thing is total overkill if all you're doing is streaming. But let me explain why I have it. So in my basement, I have 3 light areas. I have one, the desk where I paint, I have another one where I take photos, and then I have a big one where I shoot video, a big key light, a big 30-inch diameter China ball. With this one light on a stand on wheels, I have replaced every single one of those fixtures. So that's the one thing. The two thing is that this thing has incredible light output, which is helpful when you're trying to set up exposure with the camera. 3, I can adjust light temperature and light output. So for a shot like this, I've turned the light output down so that it isn't super bright and super annoying. In fact, let me just demonstrate how bright it can get. This is 30% right now. That doesn't look that impressive. You're just gonna have to take my word for it that it is pretty bright and allows me lots of freedom when exposing for both streaming and also shooting video. It's also super compact. It can pack down into a tiny little suitcase, and also the softbox itself is only about 8 inches wide, whereas normal softboxes are freaking like, I don't know, 2 feet wide. So this thing can fit into the area between my ceiling and where I paint and provide a nice top-down, big old soft light that wraps the miniature that I'm painting in light, and it looks great on both video and while streaming. But all of those nice to have features, are they worth it for streaming? I would say no. Again, you can get away with some pretty basic hobby lamps or a light fixture that you hang from the ceiling down, and I did that for a long time. The main reason I bought this was because it really condensed all my light fixtures down into one, and I love combining functionality, and it also just gave me a super high quality light. And the final thing I'll say about this setup, and this is unrelated to actually purchasing any gear, is that you want the monitors you're going to be using for your chat window and also for OBS to be directly in front of you. And the reason why you want this is because you want to be able to see very quickly when you are blocking the camera with your head, when you are going in and out of focus. You want that stuff right in front of you so you can see exactly when it happens. I actually have a setup where the camera is all the way on the right side of my desk and the monitors on the left side of my desk so that I can have foot space below and also have the monitors directly in front of me. And finally, another nice thing about my desk is that I built a pull-out keyboard tray for it. So I could have all my hobby things on top of the desk and not worry about having to find my mouse and my keyboard in a sprawl of paint bottles and X-Acto knives. Having it below and kind of protected from that sprawl is very helpful to be able to type in things or do searches during live streams or using my computer in any conceivable way. I was sitting here in my Sunday bathrobe editing this video, and I forgot 2 last items. One is the Logitech C920 and the other is another Logitech C920. One for my face cam for my party fights, and the second one for my wet palette. One I bought new, 55 bucks. The other I bought used for about 20 bucks. And that's it. And now that we know about all of the gear, let's look at some funny clips that was captured over the past year of streaming. Big shout out goes to Martin for capturing probably the vast majority of these clips. Yeah, whatever. We're just gonna go gung-ho on this. Fuck you, super glue! Man! Okay. Oh, look at that fucking precision, dude. I'm sorry, this isn't the most exciting thing in the world to watch me do, but... That Sherwood. That was a lot of Sherwood. This is the great part about streaming, is you guys can see me all f***ed up. And then clip it for everyone to remember. Show me some paints. You want to see some paints? Here, let me show you some paints. Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, oh yeah. Ah! There it is.
It's me!
Happy birthday to... I think we are ready to use the airbrush. I think you can just get away with everything, don't you? You guys see this? And before I made it too short. I made it too short. I almost dropped this mother too. Ah! Ah! Okay, I got it still though. We're gonna do a D one, boys. I'm gonna conquer my fear of the D. It can't be like that.
Hello, stream!
Run through bonfire, showing them I love you. Oh! Moose! Nope. Up. God damn it! It's on the internet.
Welcome to fucking Hair City, boys.
And now for the slightly sad announcement that I kind of talked about at the very beginning of the video. My streaming schedule is going to substantially decrease. I've been streaming for over 1 year now, 5 days a week for 2 hours in the morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I haven't seen much growth. And I don't want you to feel sorry for me. It's entirely my fault. Now, the biggest difference between people like me and people like Flickster and Jimmy is that they give everything that they are to streaming. And this creates a better viewer experience and more people attach to them and they get more viewers. And I treat streaming as a service to my YouTube community. It's like, hey, here's this thing that I do. You can watch it if you want. But I'm not putting everything that I am into it. I'm not doing giveaways. I'm not doing celebrations for hitting certain milestones on Twitch. So my attention is divided between YouTube and Twitch. And I am serving probably both communities inadequately. Now, I love streaming for the sole fact that it gets me out of bed in the morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. painting miniatures every single day of the week. So despite doing it live and earning money from subscribers and things like that, it allows me to fulfill one of my personal goals of becoming a better miniature painter and always practicing nonstop. But I also have a personal goal of doing YouTube and being successful with YouTube. And I feel like if I devote only half of my attention to it, I can only expect to see half the outcome that I am, possibly capable of. I got some great advice from one YouTuber that I followed, was that if YouTube is going to be the thing that you do, make it the main thing that you do. And as it currently stands, I probably spend a lot more time streaming than I do YouTube. So what I want to do is significantly reduce the amount of time that I'm live streaming and spend the 2 hours in the morning working on YouTube videos. This will give me a schedule that will allow me to make content faster or make better content on a consistent schedule. Who knows, maybe we might even be able to do weekly video releases. Again, we'll see how productive the mornings are. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop streaming entirely. When I have time or when it is suitable, I will stream in the evenings or in the mornings. Maybe I can stream one time a week on Wednesdays in the morning. We'll see how it works out, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a hiatus, see how productive that I can be in the mornings, and we'll kind of go from there. Get a load of this sad sap. One last thing I wanted to announce about streaming is that I am going to be doing a 24-hour stream as a way of sending off my stream. And the date of that stream is going to be, let me just check the calendar, June 15th to 16th.
All the donations are going to go to a charity. The charity is yet undecided, but if you want to hang out with me in a 24-hour stream and have your donations go towards a charity, please mark your calendars for June 15th and 16th. Alright, let's finish this video up.
I'm sorry if the stream cancellation is something that is going to upset you. That is something that you are definitely rightfully allowed to be upset about. But I'm just trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing. I'm trying to figure out how much time is necessary to produce the kinds of videos that I want to produce. And there might be some growing pains, and I'm grateful that there are people out there that will stick with me through these growing pains. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon campaign with a bunch of fun rewards. I sell t-shirts and stickers on my Redbubble account, but more important than Patreon and merch and live streaming and stupidly expensive streaming setups, don't forget, most importantly, 2 more minutes!
What up, Mini family? It's been a hot minute since we shouted out some of our patrons, so thank you for the patience with me. Today we're going to shout out Matthew Carr, Richard Kwiatkowski, Aiden Orr, Mario Ferrara Villanova, Terry Denham, Michael Kreider, Joshua Frizzell, Rick Felty, Jonathan Powell, Joshua Rinke, Marco Ferraris, Timmy B, Mark, Horst Sadowski, Matthias, Kevin Koch, Rowan Peters, Samo, Dan Elliott, John A. Dunbar, and Rack Rayburn. Thank you guys all for your generous support month after month. You're inching me closer and closer to making this little goofy thing potentially my full-time job, and I really can't express the amount of appreciation I have for that. So slightly racist Italian accents aside, from the bottom of my mini heart, thank you.